Welcome back to the channel. Today, as you can see in front of me, we are reviewing the new Qi series from TaylorMade. In this series, we've got three heads. We've got the LS, the standard Qi, and the Qi Max. We'll start from most forgiving to most workable. So in the most forgiving category, we've got the Qi Max. Now, the big story with this driver is Qi is the quest for 10,000 MOI. And for those of you that don't know, that is moment of inertia. So the higher that rating, the more stable the face is. So in theory, the more you get MOI up, the more forgiving a driver is. Now with all three of these heads, they introduce a new technology called the Infinity Crown. So we can actually see there's a little bit of a white stripe here where the crown blends with that carbon fiber. Part of the reason that I believe they did that is, if anybody's purchased a Stealth 2 or read any online forums, a lot of those faces were coming unglued because where they tried to reduce some weight, it just wasn't holding up to the construction. So instead of trying to sweep that under the rug, they addressed that situation with the public, said, hey, we know that first batch of Stealth 2 wasn't our best. So they ended up making these reinforced chassis. So we essentially fixed the issue of that carbon popping out. So in a combination with the reinforced chassis system, we've got that new Infinity Crown that wraps all the way. And that's available on all three heads. Because on the LS, there's one technology that we'll get to that's only available in the LS head. But with the Max head, what's really cool with it is a lot of these more forgiving heads tend to be super draw bias, super shut. However, with this one, it actually sits fairly neutral. The one thing that separates it is on the bottom here, you've got this little weight. It's an extra weight right here beside the 10.5 degree loft sleeve setting, I should say. That weight is just stretching some more weight towards the heel. And then on the back, we've got this rear-facing silver weight. Now, something that I found interesting with these three drivers, because it's not listed on TaylorMade's website or any spec sheet that I found, is all three drivers have three different silver weights. So on the LS, we've got this really deep pocket with a weight actually back here that is adjustable during the fitting process. The regular Qi has a more elongated silver weight. And then the Max, which is the most forgiving, has the smallest weight. So again, reducing weight, put it further back. So that's one difference. And then the actual hosel sleeve. So you've got the LS, which has your standard, where that 4-sleeve adapter goes into. And on the regular Qi, it's about standard too. But then I'm going to show a side-to-side comparison, which may be a little hard to see on camera, so I'll try to zoom in for you. On the Max head, it barely has anything here. There's nothing listed spec-wise on why is that, so this is strictly based on assumption. But I believe that was to reduce as much weight as possible to make this Qi Max the lightest weight. So men's, women's, juniors, seniors, kind of the universal head. Then we get into Qi, so a little bit heavier head weight. Actually won this weekend with Tommy Fleetwood, so congratulations in Dubai to him to already racking up a win. So with this weight, we don't have any adjustability with this driver, just like the Qi Max, except for that loft sleeve. So it's still a 4-degree sleeve. 2 degrees up, 2 degrees down, and some uprightness as well, so a lie angle setting. One thing that you'll notice this year is the color. So we have gone from a red face to a blue face, and then with that, we've got this kind of cobalt blue stripe and gray. One feedback that they got a lot was a lot of people did not like that red face because they could see it at a dress, so they went with a little bit more muted blue. Now with this, they do have what they're calling their designer series with the Qi head. That designer series comes in 4 colors. You've got the red, the gold dust, which is kind of like a yellow. You've got an all black, and then I believe the other one is called white out, which is black and white. So that's only available currently in the Qi, but what we've seen with TaylorMade in the past is they've been great about the MyTP program. So I assume at an upcharge later down the road after they get availability, you'll be able to custom design your own color. And then lastly, probably the most anticipated head is the LS. So out of all three drivers, this is the most tunable. So it's got a new sliding weight. TaylorMade's really never done a weight that goes physically inside the head. Normally everything is viewable on the actual head itself. But this weight actually slides down, and it's only 18 grams. Because we know in their 3 woods they've used 65 grams, 80 grams, but they've went with a really lightweight front track. And what you'll kind of see with Nicky hitting it in the booth here shortly is that track's not just for looks. It actually, for him, made a humongous difference in spin rate and ball flight. So I think they knocked it out of the park. And one thing that you can see is you can't catch that weight on grass. So it's physically a part of the head internally. So it's not going to get caught on grass. If you get a little steep, you don't have to worry about that, which I think is kind of nice, because a lot of times with these large adjustable heads, no matter what the brand is, it's really easy to, and especially if you play in the mornings, to get water, moisture, so that moisture in there. And for those of us who get a little steep with driver and we chunk one, it's a little easy to get grass in there. So I don't think we're going to have to worry about that with this series of heads. But the big focus on here is that they've had the ball speed retention and probably one of the fastest drivers ever with Stealth 2. But the big thing that they sacrificed with that was the construction. You know, we saw those faces popped out like I mentioned earlier. So one thing TaylorMade did is there's a video available on their website where they have Scotty Scheffler, Tommy Fleetwood, Nelly Korda hit this driver intentionally off the toe, as far off the toe as possible with their old head, so Stealth 2, and then they hit it off the toe with the new QI. And what you can see in slow motion is where that 10,000 MOI, that, the QI10, that's what that means again, it didn't move. There was very minimal movement, where with the older driver, even though, again, there was still some forgiveness there, the amount of torque that face had compared to this QI10, it wasn't anywhere close. So I think that's why you see a player like Colin Morikawa, who did not play the last generation driver. He actually was still playing a sim. A lot of these players have already jumped into these heads because they've gotten that formula with the carbon versus titanium right, and they've gotten that stability back that they may have lost with the last 2 generations drivers. We can already see with the success that the amount of players this weekend that top 10 on both tours with this driver in play, it's only a matter of time before this takes off big. And a lot of the people that are using it aren't even contracted players, which when you're on tour, that speaks volume, and you're not having to pay somebody to use the equipment. So as we navigate through this year, we'll see how it, gets its momentum. I think this is a pivotal year for this driver because it's kind of a redemption year, if you will, where they had some success with Stealth 2, but they knew that there was a slight flaw there, and the guys at TaylorMade did an awesome job stepping up to the plate, fixing the issue, getting this driver out. So what we're going to do now is we're going to transition into the booth, take you over to Nicky, as he's going to go through and hit the QI and the LS head, and compare them and see what adjustments we can make with him to maximize the performance of these heads.
What's going on, guys? Nicky here. Kyle just hit you with all the technology into the new Qi10 series from TaylorMade Golf. Super excited. I mean, TaylorMade drivers, they've always been at the top of the list, probably for last 10, 15 years. So moving on from the Stealth 2, we changed the name. I think it was time. The Stealth name got a little dormant this past year, so super excited to hit. I'm going to start with the LS model. We're going to see how it sounds, feels, and then more importantly, the looks. It's all about looks now. So I really like what they did. And the first thing I saw when it came out of the box is this new paint that they put on top of the crown. This is just kind of personal to me. I didn't like seeing that red carbon face. It just made me see left. I hit cuts, so left is not good. I want the ball to start left. I don't want it to end up there. But this paint they put on the top of the crown makes it almost look like there's no loft, which, especially in the LS model, which is what I typically play, a lower spinning driver, that's exactly what I want to see. That's more tour-inspired look, so let's see how it feels. Little wipey cut to start the day. That's kind of how my swing's been feeling this winter. 13 launch, 2400 spin, 166 ball speed. It's a good start. My biggest thing with, I haven't played a TaylorMade driver since the M2 series. My biggest thing with the most recent ones, I've had a hard time keeping that LS model in the air. We talked about it with my Paradigm. My miss with my Paradigm was, you know, a little too low, a little too knuckly, but pretty good start right there. Little toe strike. A little spinny, but to only go about 8 yards right, it's pretty good. Still with the carbon twist face, so TaylorMade's whole model with the carbon face is off-center hits, fly a little straighter. So for that one to be 15 millimeters out on the toe to only end up 7.5 yards right, it's pretty good. And 167 ball speed. Jeez. There's the wipey miss. 3,300 spin, dead center strike. That's out of bounds. Yikes. That's spinny. That's 2 in a row that spun on me. I am using the Ventus Black, the TR Black 6X. It's a shaft I've played in the past. I just felt like swinging it today because, as you guys saw, I did get my new Callaway head in, so I'm still in the testing phase, but it's interesting to see that spin like that. Little wipey fades right now. All right, one more. We're gonna hit 2 or 3, see if we can kind of equal them out. There's slight toe strike, knuckleball, high toe that I like to hit. That was better. 2,000 total spin. It's more like it. All right, let's give it a fair shake. Let's put a good swing on it. There we go, Miles. That's center face, pretty good for my swing right now. I know my pass a little left. I want it to be. I'm a little surprised to see how much it's spinning. I have the 9-degree head. It's set to 8.5. That's a loft I typically play. I mean, all in all, the sound, the feel is there. I do feel like this face the whole entire driver head feels softer to me in the LS compared to the Stealth 2. And I'm kind of glad that, again, they changed the name. I think they needed to move to something different. That Stealth 2, we saw it in the fitting bay. It didn't quite perform like how that Sim Plus did, which I think is probably their best driver they've made. But all in all, I'm going to switch over to the regular Qi10 head, the 9-degree. Hopefully, it's not as spinny for me as I was seeing with this one. I mean, my good strikes were within 5 yards of each other and pretty much dead on line. So I think this feels great. LS compared to the Stealth 2 Plus. I mean, the looks of it looks freaking awesome. So let's see. All right, so we got the regular Qi10 head. All in all, it looks a little larger, but the nice thing about it, that paint just makes the club head sit on the ground and doesn't look left. So for those of you that didn't like the red carbon face, I think you're going to like what you're seeing here in the Qi10s. I think the blue looks good. Blue's also my favorite color. So good strike. That felt pretty good. 166 ball speed, 115 club. That's pretty good. 3 millimeters toe, dead center of the face. I mean, a little high, a little spinny. That felt better. Yeah, it does sound louder. I'd agree. I don't mind that. I mean, as to expect with these models jumping from the LS to the regular, I expect the spin to go up. But for those ones to be 3,100 backspin, pretty much hit out of the dead center of the face, yes, for high spinning shot, they held their line really good. I mean, not a lot of side spin, which is great, because the whole point of this driver is to not sacrifice ball speed and gain a little bit of forgiveness, which that's why a lot of tour guys, they always play, you always see them in that LS model, that triple diamond in Callaway, the TSR 3, maybe even 4 in the Titleist. It's just because they want to manage that backspin. And what we see when you go to the more forgiving models, they sacrifice a little bit of ball speed. So it's nice to see we're gaining forgiveness, but maintaining the ball speed that we see out of the tour-inspired heads. I mean, again, a little higher of a ball flight for my liking, a little spinnier, but those things landed in a bucket. 166 ball speed again, better spin. And really the only thing I'm giving up here is a little bit of roll, which right now the ball's not rolling anyway. So at least it's going in the same spot. Wow. Again, spinny. I don't know how many times I said that's center face. Those are all in a bucket. I mean, that's 4 balls that all did the same exact thing, so I don't need to hit it anymore with this. How I would describe the weight of this head feels lighter than the LS, obviously, but just feels easy through the strike. I mean, the head itself is large, which would be confidence inspiring, but it doesn't feel large going through the swing, if that makes sense. But I like the way this head feels. I mean, honestly, if I could get on that tour van and get the 8 degree, I'd probably give it a shot. But if you're looking for a little bit more ball speed and don't quite feel comfortable playing that LS head, this is definitely one to try. They've knocked it out of the park so far with this one, and they have the Max D, which is their highest MOI driver, slightly draw biased. I'm not going to hit that one just because it's not my style. I feel like I couldn't give it a fair shake, but I want to grab that 8 degree head, see if we can kind of, in the LS, see if we can get that spin down, and I think it'll look a little better. All right, based off the numbers I've seen so far, I'm going to see if I can somewhat fit myself, dial in this LS head, see if we can capitalize on this ball speed a little bit. I went down to the 8 degree head, did turn it a touch sleeve, a touch lower, and the sliding track in the plus I put just to help with that side spin, see if we can put it in the draw. See if you can quiet that right spin. Again, you can just feel the weight. I think we fixed it, Miles. That's more like it. 165 ball speed. I don't have the sticker on for club speed. Got a little lazy, but 2,000 backspin, that makes a whole lot of sense. And 136 RPMs to side spin, much better. There's that spinny right miss again. Like, that's that same miss that I was having before, but what you're going to see, it's 500 less RPMs. Oh, try like 700 less RPMs of backspin. So even though I still sliced that one out of bounds, it was a much more efficient ball flight. Honestly, I think kind of with the overall head weight changing, it's caused that face to stay slightly open a little bit too long throughout the strike rather than the regular QI head. I was able to square it up a little easier. One more. Yep. Bam. That was a little off the toe, so spin went up a little bit, but 2,600 on an off-center hit. That's really good, and that's the importance of fitting, right? I just tweaked the loft, tweaked the weight, changed the sleeve, probably try a slightly different shaft, but we took the 9 degree Qi10 LS, moved some stuff around, and bam, instant results. I still have my same swipey left cutty driver swing. That's at winner numbers right now, and I mean, this would go in the bag right next to my AI smoke. I mean, this thing looks awesome. I mean, my biggest thing with TaylorMade, I feel like their shelf appeal. They've always been about that shelf appeal. How does it look? And just seeing that red face, it always scared me. A lot of my fittings came in, they would set it down, they would hand it back just because it's a look thing. They've definitely fixed that. So just comparing the 3 heads here, well, 2 heads. We have the Qi10 LS, which was the 9 degree that I left pretty standard, didn't make any adjustments to. Then we have the Qi10 9 degree head. Then I had essentially my fitted driver per per se, where I made some adjustments based off what I saw before. Like I said, chasing forgiveness, not sacrificing ball speed. 166.3, 166.2, 166.5. 3 completely different setups, and the ball speed was the exact same. So it tells me I'm pretty consistent in my swing right now. Launch angle for the Qi10 head and then my fitted LS head to launch 13.4, 13.3. That's perfect. That's right where I want to be. But the biggest difference here is we saw, as to be expected, the Qi10 spun a little more, 2,900 backspin on average, compared to when I made some adjustments, 2,300. Ultimately, it led to 14 yards of carry. So that's why it's ultra important, and that's what's great about all these new drivers, especially in TaylorMade. We can move some things around, get them really dialed in, and if you want to hit 290 yard slappy cuts like me, we can do that with this new driver. So which is pretty great. All in all, I mean, I think TaylorMade's kind of definitely worked out some kinks in the armor that they had with the Stealth 2. So I think it'll be awesome to see how this tests out in the Bay this year. So when we wrap up the end of the season, I wouldn't be surprised to see this back up at the top of the list. All right, guys, that's another club review. So make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for the next video. We'll catch you later.